I am excited to be here tonight with you. I'm happy to share and exchange ideas on transformative topics. Creating the digital enterprise, a topic which is rooted in the foundational question many organizations are asking themselves today, and that is, what does a digital version of our organization look like? What does it look like? And I will be sharing for 20 minutes. I will be doing this from the standpoint of sharing experiences, telling you about our experiences, what we're meeting in engagements and projects and client interactions in the market today. I will be presenting with great humility because we live in confusing times. We live in confusing times. There are some aspects of digital that are quite straightforward to understand, quite straightforward to analyze and conclude on, and there are some aspects which are not, which are challenging not only the way we're doing things or we do things, but also challenging the why we're doing things, and also challenging the fundamental truths behind that why. So it's also confusing. So it's a great deal of humility, and I am happy for the format that we will be able to, during dinner, this 3-course dinner, have these topics to converse around and to enlighten each other. So I hope some of the light may come from parts of the story I will be telling you. Maybe you will be even more confused during my presentation, but then we can maybe wrap it up at the end of the evening. So first, some context setting, some macro trends that are happening, of course. I'm not going to stick around on these topics because we are here because of this reason. You are all familiar with the driving trends in the market, the rapid increase of digital adoption in consumers, in enterprise, in business, in organizations, in public. The implementation, we already heard the word disruption or disrupt, implementation or the experimentation with new business models, of course, is engaging across all industries. There is this expectation from the customer, from the user, of a real-time experience through distributed services. And the expectation of not just getting the information or functionality or transaction that I'm looking for, but I want to be wowed right now all the time. So there is a relentless customer focus in and across all industries. That drives, in my point of view, 6 fundamental characteristics in then trying to answer the question, what does a digital version of our organization look like? What is a digital enterprise? What is it? What characterizes it? And these 6 aspects, I think, are part of the answer, I think. First, there is a fundamental focus on customer understanding and insights-driven business, where we are making much better use of analytics and real-time data around particular customers, particular individuals. Forrester, a year ago or more, I think 18 months now, said that we are now no longer in the age of information. If you look at the ages we've gone through, age of manufacturing, many years ago, we learned how to mass manufacture things. Age of distribution, we learned how to globally distribute these goods. Age of information and the value of free-flowing information in networks, an age we've been living in for now quite some time. But now we are past that. We are in the age of customer obsession. The winners in each respective market is the enterprise, the organization that is fundamentally and the best at being obsessed with the customer in real time. It's an organization which is innovation ready, embraces innovation which is not just closed and internal, but is based on collaborative measures outside of the organization. Lines are blurring between entities in the market. So innovation ready and a new level of collaborativeness experimenting with new business models, and of course the aspect of immediacy. This real time, I think we can't say it enough. It has to mean something. The feedback loops. I had a conversation with head of strategy with Airbnb not long ago, and he said the secret is not really what we think the secret is with Airbnb. The secret is the real-time feedback loops from customer immediately to the host or to the service giver, where compared with a regular hotel chain, it can take a year for feedback to enter into the organization where it actually matters, and maybe it doesn't ever happen. So this real-time feedback is absolutely a key characteristic of the digital enterprise. And tonight we will be around the table. One of the topics tonight will be DevOps, and DevOps, I think, is a topic which answers the fundamental need of organizational simplicity and flexibility. When we are breaking up the traditional silos, which are actually building walls in between and inside of the organization, really making things go very slowly, and I'm sure you can all relate to slowly moving projects, and DevOps wants to address that. So a good analogy, I think, when it comes to looking at winners and losers in a particular market is that of the predator and the prey. I think this is, in my opinion, why it's relevant to use the word digital instead of IT. It sort of suggests a paradigm shift. We perhaps mean the same thing fundamentally, IT and digital, but the relevance now is so critical that the organization that implements the right customer experience solutions, the right operational excellence driving solutions, and the new digitally enabled business models, digital is foundational for success, which means we can start to talk about it in a new way. And we have the digital predator. The digital predator has some key characteristics where really, just to pick some of the words on the slide, where business, all in all, is immersed in digital. Unless a product or a service and a process, unless it has digital characteristics, unless it feeds data into the networks or consumes data and then enables the organization to move quicker, it's not a digital predator. The real-time aspect, again, is fundamental, where the vision, and maybe we're moving away slowly from even the word digital, and maybe we should be just talking about business strategy, not digital strategy, because it's difficult to really keep them separate. I'm seeing some nodding heads here. The vision is centered around customer value, not around our old ways of thinking or our old business model, but what makes sense for the particular customer. That's the focus, relentless focus on customer experience. And digitally improved value chains, real-time feedback, value chains, I will be covering that in a few steps moving forward in my presentation. And on the other hand, we have the prey, which of course insists on keeping business units separate from IT, really building that wall and keeping that wall up. And merely looks at digital, quote unquote, as pasting it on top of legacy products. So just because now we have some products and we have some services, we just launched a new homepage, and I deliberately used the word homepage. We launched it and we described the product and the service online, so hence we are digital. Now we are in the digital age, we are online. And of course, if the products themselves are not digital, if the products themselves are not part of the customer experience digitally, you're still on that side of the savannah. You don't want to be on that side because you're going to be eaten. IT strategy focuses on cost reductions and commoditized infrastructure, and customer service is an afterthought with manual feedback processes. So we're looking now deeply into the discipline of customer experience measurement. How do you measure customer experience? What are the KPI models? And what are the tools out there to automate the feedback from customers and feeding that into the backlogs and into the actually ongoing projects back at home, so we can actually close that and deliver new value.
The Black Griffin Scan You Watch. The essence of your truck on your wrist.
The essence of your truck on your wrist. And everybody wants to be a truck driver. I think this is a good example of many things. It's a good example of, I think, what's really important in my role and maybe in your role when we talk about digital. And we use terms and phrases and we string words together in sentences that sometimes, unless you put meaning into it, you can say that doesn't mean anything what you said. That's just a hype sentence. What does it mean? Business immersed in digital. What does it even mean? What does it mean to add digital characteristics to physical products? What does that even mean? That sounds really... But it means, like, for example, we put sensors in the truck. It's really a big physical thing, and it starts to talk data. And it starts to talk data into the cloud and back to the user, who is actually fed with analytics-driven information that the user can use. So this is immersing the product in digital. I think also key in this example is it's just the beginning, to be daring and innovating and experimenting and building that characteristic around your brand, because I think a digital version of your organization, when your customers are looking at your organization, they will think your product and service are world-class and you're innovative. That has to go hand in hand, the innovativeness of your brand. So 3 key topics that we are finding more and more relevant in engaging with customers. And I put those after or beyond the third platform. And with the third platform, I mean the platform IDC defined a couple of years ago, defining what platform do you need in your digital transformation. What are the fundamental building blocks? And those are social, mobile, analytics, and cloud. And we sometimes in Sogeti, we add things or IoT in that mix as well. Those are the building blocks. Now, those building blocks are becoming more and more commonplace. Those are, when you build on top of that, or those building blocks, you are not today differentiating. You're doing what you have to do to stay competitive. So what defines competitiveness in 2017 and to 2020? We believe these are 3 key topics that defines that. One is innovation, how you work with innovation, how you view innovation, how you integrate it into your organization. Ecosystems of value networks, and third, labs and innovation labs, and the implementation of a team in your organization working with innovation. So I could choose to do this in many ways, but I want to bring up some key innovation accelerators, and not just list them, but put them in 2 models that are important when you build out your innovation roadmap. So this model here, you have IoT, for those in the back that really can't see that. IoT, intelligent agents, real-time interaction management, all of that which is from customer aware to customer led. So this is engagement technologies on the innovation roadmap. Then you have the system of insight technologies, which you go from data rich to insights driven, and you have the AI and cognitive, of course, trend here. You have customer journey analytics, you have the insight platforms. And when you build out your innovation roadmap, it's really key not to just to look at one of those, but you have to look at both sides, both the IoT data collection side, the sensor, the actuators, and what use do you make with the data? Does it make you smarter in the organization? So connecting both sides are very important. And of course, supporting technologies from a IT standpoint, from siloed to connected, from fast from perfect to fast. So containers and container management, etc., are, of course, innovation accelerators that are foundational and supporting. That's one interesting and important model when building out your roadmap. The other here is an assessment. When does the innovation accelerator in your market or in the market reach relevant potential? When is it time to make real significant investments? And when is it time to experiment or start to experiment? So it's time to make significant investments, of course, in cloud native application platforms. You are probably doing that today already. It's time with AI and cognitive, for example, not to make the significant investments, but to start to experiment. So when we are there in 2019-20, you have gained experiences in the pilot projects and the prototypes that you've been building. A core topic in innovation is that of chaos. Anyone can build out this type of innovation process where you have ideation, refinement and selection of your ideas. You incubate your ideas, you build out your portfolio. All of that makes a lot of sense. But what many organizations miss is that you can't predict all of the steps of innovation. That kind of is the definition of innovation. There is this element of surprise in innovation. For example, in ideation, you can't predetermine or decide from where does the best idea come from. You can't know that. You have to open up your ideation scope, engage with universities, students, startups, other companies in your sector and outside of your sector, and engage on innovation. And then, of course, you have to bring some order back into selecting what idea to work on. And during incubation, when you test and you try, there's this element of chaos again. So how you approach the idea of order and chaos is an important factor in your innovation process. Bringing back the customer focus and the relentless customer experience work, we've found the discipline of customer journey mapping or service design thinking to be fundamental and very important. If you're already there, you're already engaged in service design thinking and customer journey mapping, then that's really good. If you're not, it's time to read up on it and start to engage in mapping out. In this example, I will be coming to some airline examples because we are really deeply engaged in some of them. Is the literal customer journey where the customer is actually only here on the plane using the service of the airline, but there are so many things happening way before that interaction happens and so many things that happen afterwards that also touches other companies and organizations that add to the complete customer experience. The question the airline is asking, what can we do if we open up our back-end systems or part of it to those organizations? Can they add value in this entire customer journey? That's asking the real question. That's asking what's valuable for the customer, not what's valuable for our organization today, the capabilities we have or the products and solutions we have, to look at the entire customer journey. Walgreens is a good example of this. So Walgreens have, I think, so many things, but this retail chain in the US, they, apart from selling groceries and things like that, they have a pharmacy embedded in most of their stores. And they have photo printers. And they saw a decline, of course, of revenue in their photo printing business. People are happy looking at the photos on screen. And they saw a competitive market around prescription drugs. So what they did, they launched this developer site, developer.walgreens.com, where they are opening up their APIs and access to their assets to third-party developers. So for photo printers, they have this print photo product API. And when they did that, there was this startup company creating the most beautiful smartphone or phone app for selecting photos on your phone, apply some filters, and then select what store to print them out on, and then go and pick them up. Just because you own the asset or the data doesn't necessarily mean that you are the best organization to address the customer need in all of that customer journey or all of those steps. And we have this WebMD company making both sites and apps on health, integrating the refill and transfer prescriptions functionality by Walgreens by hooking their app into their backend system. Again, driving business to their drug business. So Scandinavian Airlines, of course, a company customer that we're working deeply with, they drew this map. So this is actually the customer journey, but it goes like circular. And you can see this is where we're in the air, going out and going back home. Understanding there are companies that I, as a user or traveler, engage with during my journey. So what we're doing now with SAS is we are recreating their loyalty membership systems. So point earning and redeeming is not just with the airline and not just with rental cars or hotels, which are, by the way, quite manual in process, but they are opening up for any third-party developer that think that they can add value on this chain here. DevOps, just very, very quickly, where design and development disciplines are changing. I just want to share this view with you. The old way, where the word or the term handing off, we're handing off some design specifications or requirements from the design team to the development team, and then they're prototyping, building, and then we will see some implemented designs and working code with this wall between the designers and the developers. Is of course not helping in velocity and speed and being precise with the customer. Instead, we are now seeing shared responsibilities and practices with an end-to-end design thinking, where we are pairing developers and designers together to not just do the customer journey mapping and the design, but also innovation management and DevOps coming in there as well. So with SAS, we are building out their innovation lab. They do that to stimulate technology innovation, to incubate new technology and product ideas, and to co-innovate with SaaS partners and suppliers. I think when you create a lab, I think the statement of the slide, the reason why it's here, is not to say this is how you set up an innovation lab, but how important it is to communicate inside and outside of your organization when you do set up your innovation context, if you want to call it a lab or not, it's up to you. But when you create it, to be clear what the charter is, what the purpose is, and how to engage with it. So we are, of course, in these prototype projects with SAS. We're creating this electronic bag tag, so no more fiddling around with this sticky paper, this bag tag. Instead, you get this one, and it's updated automatically. It knows and keeps this updated, so this is just a one-time. And an example of what it could look like when the flight is delayed and the member, the passenger, the member has opted in to this new membership program, which is digital. Not only does the passenger who gets the flight cancelled a notification on the phone and a suggestion you can now use this or this booking to fix your problem, but also there is this system event that is triggered to the partner, to the hotel chain, so or the hotel chain, the restaurant chain that says, we subscribe to this information, we know your flight was cancelled, now we have prepared a room for you, or you can come and dine with us, and here's a voucher for that. So instead of just having the airline interaction, the airline can actually start to build out these events to other companies and organizations. Finally, to end my presentation, two examples of innovation pilot projects. You mentioned the NFC implant. So this is what it looks like when I come to the lounge and I use my implant that I have in my hand.
Välkommen.
Tack, tack. Usually, the next video is the video of the actual procedure with the syringe and the blood. And I was asked not to show that because we have a dinner table set. So I don't have it now as my next video. Instead, I will show you some reactions. So we just created the YouTube video. The syringe and the implant was $99, and the YouTube is for free, of course. So $99, and we get Die Welt, and we get the Star from Canada. We get Times of India online and the printed paper talking about this experiment. New Zealand, Wall Street Journal. So a lot of media coverage, a lot of journalists and TV shows wanting to know what is this experiment about. And by the way, just as a parenthesis, the conclusion is it's a bad idea to have an NFC chip in your hand. It's not a good idea. So I'm not selling the idea. We can talk about later why I think it's a bad idea, but I'm not selling the idea. I'm just describing the project. So we got some reactions. We got positive reactions, and I'm showing these to tell you when you innovate in front of the customer and put the innovation in a context that the customer can understand. Because I was not the first person to have an NFC implant. I was the first person to put it in a context that people could understand what you can do with it. I can do it like this at the airport, and I show it. 5 years ago, the guy sat in his kitchen, did it on himself, and he read it with his Android phone, and they said it worked, and nobody cared about the kitchen. And that guy, or the context, why should I do it? But if you put your idea in the context in front of the customer, it starts to make sense, and you start to get reactions. These reactions, exciting, interesting. And this guy says, cool, what chip do you have? I have the NTAG 216. He is also chipped. That was some interesting reactions. But 99% of the reactions we got were negative. People were really concerned. This is sick. I will never have the chip inside of me. I'm not a sheep or some other animal. And I'm the biggest world and RFID idiot from Sweden. And Nazism and Big Brother and slavery of mankind. And there are some concerns that are relevant. Concerns about privacy and integrity. These are concerns in your innovation project, type of concerns that you need to take seriously, and you need to have a plan for dealing with security and integrity and etc. Communicate that. There were even some even further type of comments. So I actually had people calling me wanting to kill me because of the project, because I am the spokesperson of Satan. Because in the book of Revelations, chapter 13 in the Bible, there is this mark of the beast, and they are making some links between this experiment and the mark of the beast. So I'm saying this to tell you there are some concerns that are relevant and some that are really not relevant, and you need to have a mind about that as well when you start to innovate with your customer. I was primarily concerned about SAS when I got hundreds and hundreds of these comments. I kept the line open to management at the client, telling them about the comments, and they were not concerned. It didn't float up any of this. It was just like the media, really like interesting. This is interesting. And actually this ended up in the Scandinavian Traveler, the in-flight magazine. You can, and these are proud milestones of SAS history. First female pilot and etc. And then we have this one here. It's the first person to travel with a chip implanted. So they are still pushing it, even though they've seen the negative comments. And I show you this not to brag about being the first person. I'm showing you this because there's a point and a value to associate your brand with innovation, and it doesn't have to cost a lot. The link between your innovation team and the marketing team, if that works, you can gain a lot of value by experimenting in front of the customer. Finally, I just want to share with you the example of Watson and Alex da Kid. I know AI and cognitive as a topic deserves at least an event of its own, deserves at least 1 hour of walkthrough, machine learning and AI. There are so many implications in this topic on so many levels. So I was kind of hesitant of bringing it up at the end. It's not, I mean, I'm not showing it enough respect by doing it, but I want to reflect it to you that I know it's deeper than what I show you tonight. This is just one example what Watson is used for. So IBM and Alex da Kid, the music producer, they fed into Watson machine learning algorithms, cultural trends since 5 years, text-wise, Nobel Prize speeches, billboard, song lyrics, movie synopsis, and much more. And then they linked those texts to sentiments expressed by people. Happy, angry, like, not like. So what is the sentiment towards these texts? Emotional analysis. And then what makes a great song, music-wise? Pitch, time, key signatures, note sequences, all of that. Fed that into this algorithm or algorithms, gave him some parameters to change, and out came this hit song, which I'm sure you heard. It's been on many of the top lists. It's the song "It's Not Easy," and here it is. We were two dumb kids, grand ideas. So that sort of scared me a little bit when I thought about the lyrics. That was the first song lyrics I've heard from a machine AI, and it starts to talk about breaking my heart. I didn't really like that. And I'm kind of getting at one study that we are engaged in now in Sogeti and in Sogeti Labs under the wings of Michel, who is also here, where we look at AI and cognitive robotics from the perspective of fear. So our next report on that will be the anatomy of fear, and kind of looking at why we in the Western world are afraid of AI. If you look at the 8 to 10 last Hollywood productions on the topic, it ends very badly for humankind. Whereas in Southeast Asia, it doesn't. It ends usually very good because the AI and robots are happy, friendly creatures. Sort of an interesting take on it. With the AI ending, I just want to highlight it's time to start to experiment on machine learning. Cortana Intelligence Suite or Watson or the Google Stack are publishing new APIs every day, or at least every week. So it's actually time and relevant to start to experiment. This was my presentation. I wanted to share with you the characteristics of the digital enterprise at the beginning, and then focus my thoughts around these 3 topics, which are kind of the next step on the journey. The next step being circling around innovation for customer experience, or innovation for customer excellence, operational excellence, business model transformation. So innovation, ecosystems, engaging with organizations outside of your own around a joint customer. And then lastly, the innovation lab and the organization that actually looks at the innovation process. These are key topics inside of a digital enterprise today. So those were my remarks. I know we have 3 topics, 3 courses and 3 topics, 1 per course maybe, but you can tell us all about that. Thank you so much.